it was blamed on heavy metal music, you know. And lots of pastors started coming to our school and saying, don't listen to heavy metal music. It's the devil's music.
Right.
And and they were actually focusing on the most innocent bands you could think of, like Bon Jovi, Warrant, Poison. Like, they'd say Bon Jovi had a song called Blaze of Glory, and in the Bible it says the devil will come down a blaze of fire. So hey, that song's evil. Or something like that. And of course, the whole ACDC, Antichrist, Devil's Child, and all this madness.
Yeah.
So this was flushed down our throats. So
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my podcast. We have a very special guest today, all the way from Colombo. We have Anil Balasuriya. Hi Anil.
hi guys. Hey Channa, man, it's so good to see. Well, I mean, we do chat on Facebook sometimes, but it's good to see you face to face and see the new look, man. I'm loving it. It's good to see you, man. It's good to talk to you as well.
Yeah, this is the quarantine look.
Yeah, we've all got a bit of a quarantine look going. But it suits you, man. It looks good. I think it's a keeper. You should keep it now like this.
Yeah, I decided to keep it, and all this, my logo and everything is now stuck with the beard. So I told my wife I cannot shave anymore.
Nice one, man. Nice one. But I'm really proud of you, dude, because I remember like I think a lot of people you interview will tell you the same thing. I think I saw clips of the interview you did with Mirshad from Paranoid Earthling, and he said that you were one of the original guys who used to come for the contest. And I think even for Independence Square, you were like one of the first guys who'd always be there, at the entrance, and you'll buy your ticket, you'll come in. So from that, and now you become like this prolific concert goer, and I see you, going for, of course, before COVID, going for all these concerts, and you have such an amazing collection of music, and you still collect CDs, although we have Spotify and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so from all of that, to see you doing this now, man, I'm really, really very, very, very proud of you, and I feel really happy and privileged to be on your show, man. Good stuff, buddy. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really an honor to me, David, Anil, because listening to you on the radio, and then now you agree to it's a really great thing.
Yeah, I was for those who are watching, when we started this, I just told Channa that this is a very weird, awkward position for me, because usually I'm the one who's asking the questions. So I'll try to get through this the best way I can. I try to answer the best I can. Okay, go
Yes.
for it, man.
So what's happening with the COVID and everything? What's happening these days with you?
To be honest, Channa, like I guess COVID hit me like it hit everyone in the world, and I guess in Sri Lanka we are relatively better off than maybe places like America and Europe, obviously. But still, it's been hard. Like there was so much. I mean, we had so much plans this year. And I know this is going to make it sound really silly, because there are much more bigger things that are affecting people. But for me, I've been working on my this album for a very, very long time, my new album. So we were going to release it in April, and that got held back. And as you know, I've developed this love for making video content now, and I have a production company that I run, and we do a lot of corporate work, and I do a lot of work for fun as well. But I was actually going to start my direct and film my first shoot my first movie this year as well. So that kind of got held up as well. But I'm trying to think of it in a positive way. I mean, since I've written the script as well, I keep rewriting and rewriting, and every time I've delayed it, I've come up with a better idea to make it even a little bit more interesting. So I'm trying to see, maybe this time will make me go back in and maybe do a rewrite, and maybe it'll come out even better. So I guess we have to be a bit positive in these times, Nathan.
Yeah. So this chaotic and frustrating times, does it give you any inspiration for like new songs or new music?
Oh, of course, yeah. Like when the lockdown first happened here in Sri Lanka, which was like I think about 4 or 5 months ago. Uh, there was not much we can do really. I mean, so I actually have been writing for a very, very long time. I mean, my last album was in 2006, which was my solo album, which was the last few pieces of April. So ever since then, I've been writing and sporadically releasing songs. And I have written close to at least 300 songs. So I have enough songs in the world to pick from. But during this lockdown, actually, I don't know. I think I got really inspired for some reason, and I started writing. See, I write. I mean, people write in different ways, right? Like lots of people write the lyrics first, and then they put the melody in the Channa. I do it the other way around. I actually take my guitar and I let the inspiration take me onto a melody line, and then if I think, hey, this melody line has something to it, then I sit down and I slave over the lyrics and I write the lyrics to it. That's basically the way I do it. So when I was at home, and I have a home studio now, and I took my acoustic guitar and I was strumming. I just came up with some really nice melodies, which I think I will put on this new album. I'll have to go back into the studio and record them again. But I'm also hoping to do maybe something very, very different. Maybe not in English, but maybe something in Sinhalese that has been something I want to do for a very, very long time. And the only thing that has held me back is it's not that I want to jump on a bandwagon or anything like that, Channa. It's just that I think we are Sri Lankans, and we should not be afraid of expressing ourselves in our mother tongue. And the only thing that why I haven't done it is I don't write in Sinhalese. But now I'm getting some help, and there's this couple of melody lines they've written which are quite nice, and it's not something that has been done before. So I just want to explore as many opportunities as I can now, because as nothing is certain anymore, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. So I think for me, what I've taken from this is just do as much as you can in the time that you have now. And that's basically what this COVID has taught me. Just take every day and do as much as you can every day, and just try to be happy. So that's what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah, because also me that you, as you said like earlier, that I used to go to a lot of shows, a lot of gigs, and then
Of course.
suddenly everything stopped, and then everything got cancelled. So that actually the reason I started this podcast. I started it first episode was on in May. So
but I saw this is like number 46 or something, right?
this is I think 41 or 42.
That's brilliant, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm so glad that a lot of artists were like, they said, of course I will talk to you. Of course I will join.
Yeah, you're like the OG, Mata? You're like the OG of Sri Lankan rock. Huh? I mean, I know you never play. I don't know. Do you play an instrument or do you?
Yeah,
Can you play? I know your son plays, right? I've seen your son jamming on a guitar, right?
Yeah. I actually played. I did 2017. I performed my first guitars. We had a recital, so I played the Highway to Hell, AC/DC.
Oh, nice. Nice one, man.
But after that, I haven't actually got on. I didn't really have time to play guitar.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry. No, but what I was going to say is, like, you're the OG because when you were here, you were like part of the bands, really, even though you didn't play.
Yes.
Even though you didn't play, you were like part of that movement. And I remember even back in the day, you coming over to TNL, and when I was at TNL, and then even at the concerts, you'd come and talk to us, and we talk about the music. So you were really a big part of that movement, Macha.
Yeah. I'm really glad of that actually, because one thing, Anil, the reason like I settled here in the Philippines, for example, when I got the chance to go out of because I was kind of like missing something in Sri Lanka where I didn't have that. There were not of like shows. There were not international artists were not coming there, and then the music. It was only
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
you guys put out, right? Few
True,
of the
true, true.
Sigvada. So as soon as I came here, oh, it's a different world because you can. There's so many stuff that I could really, uh, I really got my passion. I was able to follow
Right.
it. So I just kept on going.
Right. And you started a family as well, right? So
Yes,
that
yes,
worked out well. But I mean that this is the thing, right? Like I've been saying for a number of years now that the problem with Sri Lanka is, I mean, okay, obviously we don't have the numbers for big artists to come and have big concerts here like India or even where you are. But uh, but I mean, you get once in a way, you get all these, 80s artists coming and performing here. But also that the fact that we don't have a proper recording infrastructure for any kind of music really. I mean, okay, for Sinhalese music, yes, there is some kind of industry, but really when you think about it, there isn't. Like when it comes to like intellectual property and copyrights and stuff like that, it's such a gray area right now. Someone told me the other day that it's being looked at and there's going to be a body that's going to come in to handle copyrights and see that artists are paid royalties and stuff like that. That really doesn't happen here in Sri Lanka. So I think when we don't have a proper infrastructure,
yeah,
it's hard for even bands from overseas to come here because they can't sell records here, right?
right,
And now with things like Spotify and all, they can't sell records anywhere, really. So it's all on touring and the concert ticket numbers. And unfortunately, Sri Lanka doesn't have the numbers to, unless, of course, Sri Lanka becomes like this mecca for live shows where we get people from all over this region to come here, which will be
yes,
great for our tourism industry. Of course, this is all post COVID in a post COVID world. But I think that might be great. And I think if our tourist board can look into something like that, where we get artists here and we promote it to all the countries in this. I mean, if we can go to India and watch artists, I don't see why Indians can't come to Sri Lanka, right?
right.
Or in any other part of this region. So I think if something like that happens, I think it will be amazing. But someone at a higher level has to take that. I mean, it has, for anything that you have to have a passion, right? So someone has to be passionate about it, and I think make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Anil, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and then your like earliest memories of music?
Okay, yeah. Well, in the sense that I was my earliest memory of music. I think music. I mean, I've said this before as well, but I think music was always with me, Chanda. My dad was a huge music lover.
Right.
And my uncle, incidentally, was in a band as well called the Savages. They were quite popular in the 70s and the late 60s. So my dad was a huge collector of music. He had like hundreds and hundreds of vinyl records, like, but of course, he never listened to heavy metal or rock and roll. It was always country and the hardest he got was ABBA and Boney M,
Right.
but still, I kind of understood what melody was. Sometimes when you listen to music at such a young age, it kind of does something to you, and it becomes this outlet where you go to. And as I was growing up, I did start to go to music when I was at a low point, even as a child or as a kid or whatever, because it becomes like this I don't know, this kind of reassuring being that you can make a part of your life and you can escape to, so
Right.
yeah, I mean, my dad realized that I was also into this, and he let me put on records from a very young age. So I'd go to the record player and put on whatever that I liked, and I listened to, and I liked the kind of music he liked. I mean, it was like all, like I said, a lot of country, Jim Reeves and Connie Francis and Skeeter Davis and all stuff like this. But really nice melodic stuff. Towards I think towards the late 80s, I have two elder sisters. They were also very big music fans. And in the 80s, they started listening to bands like Duran Duran and Adamant and people like that, and they had all these posters on their wall. So obviously, I also got kind of influenced. I should listen to all these people like Blondie and stuff like that. But I'd say that uh, I really, really got into music, I think, in the 90s. I mean, in the late 80s, yes, I used to listen to music a lot, but I really didn't identify genres and so on and so forth, Channa. It was just, music was great, music, all kinds of music was great. My sisters listened to a lot of ballads, so I used to listen to a lot of ballads as well, like Chicago and Survivor and all these adult-oriented rock from the 80s, like Foreigner and
Yeah.
Styx and stuff like that. But I mean, the thing was, right, back then, we were not spoiled for choice. We didn't really have anywhere to go and buy records or cassettes or anything like that. I mean, there were a few shops that sold cassettes. I mean, we didn't have, we didn't have private radio in the late 80s and the early 90s, right? So there was not a whole lot of like music that was available to us. I mean, I know SLBC gave us a couple of hours in the evening, I think 7:30 to 9:30 or something like that, where they play some music. And I used to eagerly wait for those 2 hours. But I have to say, like people like Arun Das, Bandar Naik used to do some great shows. I remember Arun Das did a show on SLBC called The Radio Journal, which I used to listen to. It was on Thursdays at 8 p.m., I think. And he used to record the UK top 10 from Top of the Pops or somewhere. And he used to play it on his show. Like, okay, at number 10 is this one, at number 9 is this one. So I was used to record this part. And it was a really bad recording because they probably got it through satellite and it wasn't very good. But I also used to record it and I used to memorize the top 10.
Right.
And from a very young age, I kind of knew every single song that was on the chart because I remember there was a guy, I've never met him, but I tried to meet this guy because he was a big part of my growing years into music. He's a guy called Miles Brohier. I don't know who he is, but he used to do this chart on the Sunday Times newspaper, the UK top 10 and the UK top 20 and the US top 10. And I used to cut all this out. We had scrapbooks and we used to paste this stuff, write song books, and I even now like I if you tell me a song, I can tell you which year it was released, what its chart position is, and what album it was from. And if I dig a little bit into my head, I can tell you who wrote the song also. So because I developed a passion for it, and I really want to learn. It was not enough for me just to know the song. I want to know everything about it. So it went on like this for a few years, and then I think, shall I go on or you
Yeah,
want me to stop?
go on, go on.
Okay, and I think like in the 90s when I was at St. Thomas's Prep at the time. There was this incident that took place in St. Thomas's where it was a tragic incident and it was blamed on heavy metal music, you know. Um, and lots of pastors started coming to our school and saying, don't listen to heavy metal music. It's the devil's music.
Right.
And and they were actually focusing on the most innocent bands you could think of, like Bon Jovi, Warrant, Poison. Like they'd say Bon Jovi had a song called Blaze of Glory, and in the Bible it says the devil will come down a blaze of fire. So hey, that song's evil. Or something like that. And of course, the whole ACDC, Antichrist, Devil's Child, and all this madness.
Yeah.
So this was flushed down our throats. So although I had never, I mean, I had listened to a little bit of that music, I had never really developed a fondness towards it as yet. But we were very young at the time, and very we could be influenced very easily. And when you're just getting into your teens, like you are going to do exactly what you're told not to do, right?
Yes.
So, so me and my friend Salia Viladgamu, he and I, we went to this little place called Unity Cellar. It was at Unity Plaza.
Right.
and it was right at the bottom where now there are tons of like computer hardware shops and whatever. And we went, and these guys at the Unity seller, they used to get stuff from Thailand, like clothes and stuff like that. And they used to get these cassettes from Thailand, which were like obviously pirated, but they had the cover and everything. And I don't know, whoever owned Unity Seller must have been a huge heavy metal fan, because
Right.
90% of the tapes were all rock, you know. They had Judas Priest, Painkiller, the album, they had Iron Maiden, they had everything. So for me at that time, I didn't know who these guys were. I mean, all I knew was the covers look really colorful and they look really dark, which was kind of cool. So we basically bought every single rock album we could get our hands on,
Right.
and we started listening to rock. So that's basically how I got into rock music. And I mean, obviously, the early bands that I listened to were quite. I mean, a lot of people are ashamed to say they were fans of bands like Poison or Warrant or Bon Jovi, and I'm not. I started my my journey to rock and roll thanks to bands like Poison and Warrant and Skid Row and bands like that. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have got. I love the fun element. I love the melodic element, and rock and roll was really fun then. It was like and all the videos. They had all these girls coming in, and it was just it's just. I mean, for a kid, that's kind of really cool.
Yeah.
And I love the big guitar solos. Like Poison had CC DeVille, who was an amazing guitarist. He could, I mean, he'd take songs like Every Rose Is Torn and just totally turn them into beautiful little lead solos. But as time went on, I wanted to know more, and I think when I got into the heavier stuff, it was when I first heard Iron Maiden, and I think my cousin brother Opie and I, we were like partners in crime as well, and we both kind of got into heavy metal together.
Right.
And he told me, Machang, and I think you met Opie. My cousin is Opie, who played bass for Independence Square.
Yes.
Uh, so he told me, Machang, there's this great band called Iron Maiden. You should listen to them. They're really cool. And I first and for and I was really lucky because the first Iron Maiden album I ever listened to was Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I'm sure you even have that album.
Yes.
Um, and when I heard that album, I just realized, this music has something to it. I mean, even now when I talk about it, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like when I heard like songs like "Hallowed Be Thy Name" and "Number of the Beast" and "Run to the Hills" and songs like that, I just it just did something to me. And I was like, wow, this is just amazingly cool. I had never heard anything like that in my life. And so I went out and bought almost every single Iron Maiden tape at the time that I could find.
Right.
And that's how my journey into that's not how my journey into wanting to write songs happened, but that is how my journey into listening to more heavier stuff and kind of getting a little bit my foot in the door to heavy metal and listening to more heavier bands like Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and stuff like that. That's how that happened, at the time.
So, Anil, how did the idea came for you to like you want to make your own music and then you want to have a band or?
Right. So again, it was quite a coincidence. Like Channa, I think like this is again in the 90s. Like the incident that I just told you happened like in 1991 or something like that. So even at that time, there was no private radio, right? I mean, private radio started around 92, 93, I think. Um, and even the first private radio stations they didn't play rock music, until TNL started. So I used to go to these record bars in Sri Lanka, like a lot of people in my generation used to do. We used to go to these record bars in Colombo. So record bars were places that you take a list of songs and you. It's embarrassing to even say this now because if any teenagers or anyone are listening, they'll be like, "What the hell is he talking about?" Like we used to write down the names of the songs that we wanted on a piece of paper, and we used to go and give it to these record bars. So I mean, there were quite a few. I think some of the more reputed ones were, there's a place called Tracks run by a guy called Tariq in Kolpiti on Duplication Road. There was a place on Quarry Road in Dehibala, which was called K3 DJs. They were a DJ outfit. But the great thing about K3 DJs is they used to record off vinyl, and their quality was amazing. You could even when you put a tape on, you can hear the needle, like that needle noise going, and the
Yeah.
quality was just freaking amazing, and of course, the most exclusive place was a place called Lucky Veeramantri, or Veeramantri Studio or whatever, which was in down one of those bylanes on Dehibala on the main road. But Lucky was very expensive. Like at that time to record we had like the cassettes were C60, C90, and C45. So 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, right? But even to get a C90 recorded was a luxury at the time because you could put 21 songs into a C90 tape, whereas the C60 tape you could only put like 14. So if you had the money, you'd get a 90. But at that time, we had got our little allowances, and that's how we paid for this stuff. And so yeah, I never went to Lucky because honestly, I couldn't afford to go to Lucky because it was quite expensive. I used to go to K3 a lot, and then there was a really cool guy in Dehibala, in Colombo because I lived in Colombo at the time, called Norman, and he used to get tapes and he used to record from tape. So the quality wasn't as good, but it was all right. It was okay, and it was very much more affordable. But later on, I started going to Lucky, and I saved up money, and so I used to go to him and get tapes recorded. But his quality was the best. He had the best technology. He had the best selection, and actually, I learned a lot from him because he was a bit of a weird guy. Like he'd stay in his room with his headphones on, and he never talked to anyone. But he had a select crowd he'd take into the studio. All the other people had to stay outside, and his brother would come and say, "Where's your receipt? Okay, here's your tape," like this, right? But he had a select crowd he'd take into the studio. So as I started going to him, he never took me into the studio. But one day when he was walking down his hall, I told him, "Lucky, wow, that album cover is really hot." And the album cover on in his studio was an NWA album cover of
Right.
two girls in skimpy outfits with the band. I said that ever since that day he called me to his room and he said, "Machan, here, look at all the album covers. You can open this and there are posters inside." So I think we kind of discovered some common ground there. And yeah, so then he is the person who introduced me to rap actually, like to music like NWA and all this stuff. I used to listen to it at his studio. So anyway, cut a long story short, one day I uh, I gave him a list of songs to record, and I think I had given 21 songs for the C90, and I had to wait a week. You have to wait a week to collect it, right? So, and trust me, there were like a stack of tapes he used to record. At that time, that was the only way to get music. So I went in a week, and I mean, we wait like so patiently because we're so excited to get these tapes. Like that walk, like if whether you're walking or you're driving or you're riding down that lane, it's so exciting till you get your hands on that tape, right? So I went and I collected the tape, and Lucky told me, "Anil, I didn't have one song on your list, but don't worry, I put a song in there as an extra song." So then I was like, "Okay, what's the song you put?" So he said, "I put a song, something Pearl, something Pearl, something." So I was like, "Oh, okay." I remember at that time in the UK charts, there was a band called Blue Pearl who had a song called Naked in the Rain. It was a dance song. It charted at about number 18 in the charts. So I thought maybe another song by this band Blue Pearl, which I was not very excited about. Naked in the Rain was it was an amazing dance song. It was all right. So anyway, I rushed home. I put this tape on. Now every song I'm listening to, and I'm cherishing every song, Mana, like, oh wow, oh wow. And then I was curious to listen to this song that Lucky had put in, which was an extra song. And when it came on, it didn't sound like Blue Pearl and it didn't sound like a dance song. it was this really loud, angry, guitar twangy song, and up to this point, my rock and roll was like, of course, the heavier stuff like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and of course maybe the more commercial sound like Poison and the Bon Jovis and the what.
Right.
But this was so different, and I hated it. It was like I was like, what the hell is this? So I looked at the little sheet that I'd given Lucky to record, and he had written "Alive" by Pearl Jam,
Right.
right? And I was like, what the hell? Who the hell is Pearl Jam, And I was actually quite pissed off with him for putting that song on because I felt it ruined my entire compilation. So I let it go and I used to listen to that tape, but never listen to that song. But around 6 months later, I just put this tape back on and accidentally this alive because tapes just play from one song to the other, right? Like it doesn't stop after every song or whatever. But I guess most things that's the way most things work. So I didn't stop it, and Alive came on. That Mike McCready's guitar just came on, and I don't know what happened to me. I mean, I just I don't know, something happened to me, and I loved that song, and I just thought that was the most beautiful piece of music I've ever heard in my life. Like Eddie Vedder's voice, and I think at that time, I think the drums were played by, I think it was Dave Abreunis who played drums. They kept changing their drummers, but I think it was Dave Abreunis who played the drums. And the drums were amazing. The tone was amazing. I mean, Jeff Berman's bass was just pumping, and Stone Gossard's rhythm guitar. It was just brilliant. So I had to get this album, which is called Ten, and like if I kid you not, even talking to you now, I can feel my ears going, and I'm just getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I went and picked up the album Ten. Again, I picked up a tape because I couldn't get the CD, and I didn't have a CD player at the time anyway. Um, and I listened to Ten, and Machang, that was it for me. I mean, every single song, it starts off with once, then goes on to even flow, then goes on to a live, then goes on to black, then goes on to Jeremy, then goes on to oceans, and I mean, Machang, that was it. That's when I knew, right, I am fucked, right? This is going to be part of my life for the rest of my life. I knew this was it. There was no turning back after that point. I still, then I thought, I mean, I never wrote a song, so I was not a songwriter or anything in any stretch of the imagination. But I just thought, hey, this could be a fun thing to do. Um, but I still never really wanted to start a band or anything like that until a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who was like one of my best friends in St. Thomas's Prep. Unfortunately, he left really early. His name is Shehan Karnatilaka. He and I kind of toiled with the idea of putting a band together when we were in school and this and that. But he left to New Zealand. So I remember once he and I used to swap charts. Like I used to send him a chart of the 10 songs that I was listening to. He would send me 10 songs that he was listening to. And somewhere along the line, he said, hey man, this really nice song has come out called Mr. Jones by a band called the Counting Crows.
Right.
So this was around 1994, I think. And I said, okay, let me listen to it. Uh, I can't remember if he told me or if he wrote it. Anyway, he told me that there was this Bangkok accounting for Mr. Jones. Of course, I hadn't heard it in Sri Lanka because, I mean, obviously, we didn't have that kind of music accessibility at the time. And even to get it recorded, I didn't know of the band. So I listened to this Mr. Jones. And again, I hated it. I really didn't like it. But again, couple of months later, I got my hands on the album August and everything after, and I listened to it again, and I loved every single second of that song, and I love every single second of that album. And to this day, I would say that is one of my top three albums in my life, you know. Well, I mean, my top three albums are August and Everything After, 10 by Pearl Jam, and Number of the Beast, you know. So you can see how that stacks up like that. They were the three most influential albums to getting me to this point. So when I heard the way, or when I saw the way Adam Duritz structures a song, the way he structures his sentences and his words, and it's so emotive and so beautiful. I just realized, okay, I want to do this. Uh, but I wasn't a very good songwriter at the time. I wrote the most corniest songs. And again, Shehan and I used to compete and write songs. You know, he used to send me stuff from New Zealand, and I used to send him stuff from Colombo. And yeah, I mean, I wrote some decent songs, but nothing big. So, but I mean, gradually I improved, and that's another story. How I'll get to it at some point, maybe today. But that's basically when I realized, okay, I want to maybe write songs and have a band and pursue this. And that's where I think after I listened to the Counting Crows, and I don't think it was just the Counting Crows. I think it was just a build up, you know, from Number of the Beast to 10 to August and Everything After. And I think that's when I hit that point where I thought, shit, man, I want to do this. I want to write songs. I want to have a band. I want to create, you know, not necessarily, you know, tour the world and okay, we all have aspirations of winning a Grammy Award, you know, but but it is. I just always want to create, you know. I thought, wow, you know, if I can create something like this, that like I am like listening to the Counting Crows. If someone could listen to my music and I could change their lives, you know, it would be amazing. And that's basically what motivated me. And that's where I first got the idea of, you know, maybe I want to get a band together and start writing songs.
Right. So Anil, I know that the. So what was the first band that you started? It was a small independent square first, right?
No, it wasn't. So again, so basically, Shehan and I were like very big. We were a bit of a team. I mean, Shehan and I, and actually OP, my cousin, we were quite a bit of a team at the time because OP and I grew up together. We were the same age. He was my first cousin, and so when Shehan came down from New Zealand, he said, "Hey man, let's do this." We always, so I said, yeah, let's do it because, you know, we even in school at St. Thomas's, we always wanted to do this. So the first band we started was a band called Crystal Dirt.
Okay.
But all originals, huh? And at the time, you know, I wrote a few, but mostly I think Shehan wrote a lot of the songs on Crystal Dirt. And we performed for one of Dalvin Subi's shows. I think it was called Variety Fair or something like that. We went to some studio in Depanama Pandipitiya and we recorded. So Crystal Dirt was our first band. And then I think, I don't know what happened, but I think Shehan went back to New Zealand and we disbanded Crystal Dirt. And then another friend of mine who was in St. Thomas's Prep, but he left very early. I think he left in grade 8 or something. He was he came down to Sri Lanka. He was studying overseas as well. His name is Adil Aziz, and and at that time, Shehan and I were looking for a drummer for our band, and I think someone told us that Adil had a drum kit, and go check him out. So we went and checked out Adil, and yeah, Adil had a drum kit and he had a couple of guitars as well. And he was a very good songwriter too. I mean, he was just gradually building up his kind of skill as a songwriter. And uh, and yeah, so we started jamming. And I remember the first time I heard Pearl Jam's album Versus was at Adil's house. He had a tape of the follow-up album to 10, and I loved it straight away, you know. And yeah, so when Shehan left, Adil and I started a band. Again, OP, along with OP, Adil, OP, and I, we started a band called Wreck. And that was named after the famous wreck in Velavatta on the beach. You know, there's a shipwreck there.
Right.
So we used to go to the beach a lot, and Adil stayed very close by. And we started again all originals, huh? No covers. We did all these. We did all these demos. We went to. I remember at that time it was. I think Pearl Studio, Upali Studio in Nugegoda. Man, we've had some we've had some crazy times and experiences in studios. Like our first studio that we recorded, I think, as Crystal Dirt was Nishu Studio in Navala. And there was a guy there, I still remember his name, Chanaka Channa. I don't know what Chanaka Channa is doing right now. But at that time, we used to record on spool, right? On spools. And so I mean, we were playing rock music, and I mean, these guys had never heard of rock music. So he was listening to like, මොන වගේ sound එකක්ද ඔයගලන්ට ඕනේ? Then we say, අපිට rock music, rock and roll වගේ. Then he says, okay. Then he plays like a Victor Ratnayaka CD and said, මේ වගේද? Although not nothing against Victor Ratnayaka, I love Victor Ratnayaka's music, but it wasn't like the same,
Right.
But even then, we used to experiment much. I think I remember once when we were recording our first album as Crystal Dirt, we got in some hip hop bands. There were some great hip hop bands in the country at the time. Huh? There's a band called Brown Boogie Nation, which featured Ranveer, who's now he's a very prolific solo artist, and he sings with Bharti as well. Ranveer, Subodha, and this guy called Nishan, who are very, very talented, and they wanted to do like a rap rock song. So we got them into the studio and we recorded this song called What's the Point, which I wish we had a copy because it'd be so cool right now to listen to that. But we don't. But yeah, so I mean, we had to much save up our money and pay for the studio. The studio time was so expensive. But I think when we recorded Rec, we were all, I think either we were working or we had some money saved up and it was fine. So yeah, so we recorded. I mean, before we became Independent Square, I've had a lot of incarnations with different bands, me, Opi, Shehan, and then obviously Rec broke up because Adil went to Budapest to pursue his medical studies, and that's when Independent Square happened. And that's basically how we got to Indie Square.
Anil, so with Rec, you guys were included in the Colombo Tribe compilation, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, that's right. Because actually, the Colombo Tribe was compiled or put together by Akhtal Aziz, who was at TNL at the time. And Akhtal was Adil's brother and elder brother. And Akhtal actually played and sang for one song called Round and Around, where we skipped and he started singing and I played the drums for that song. And I remember our first ever live concert, Channa, was at the CHNFC as Rec. We were so freaking nervous, I mean, I remember me and Adil had about 4 tequila shots before we went on. And it was for this Rock Saturday that was there at the time, but not for the Rock Saturday that, the bands played. This was a Rock Saturday that was started off by Imran Saibo. And, he used to, it was all DJ music. But it had a cult following because at that time, rock was just getting big thanks to, radio stations like TNL had just started and they were playing a lot of rock music. And so rock has started to get a bit of a following. But of course, very commercial rock, but still a following nevertheless. And this just skyrocketed, or it just blossomed into this amazing festival where everyone waited for the end of the month to go for Rock Saturday. And I remember we got a gig at the time. I can't remember who got us in there at the door. I think maybe Leah Marika, or I think it was Leah who got us in Rock Saturday. I actually spoke to someone who knew someone, or anyway. So we performed our first show. It was great, it was a great concert, and we had a good time. But that was our first concert, but not a big scale, small concert. A big scale concert was also as Rec, but that was at Vihara Mahadevi Park Amphitheatre, where Kirti Fernando used to have these concerts called Monsters of Rock or something like that. And, his band Venom used to play, and a lot of other rock bands used to play. And us Podians, we also went and played, and but I think we were the only band who played original music, even at that time. Even at that concert. So yeah, that was our first big concert as Drake, obviously, and yeah, we were included on the compilation with some other great bands and artists. I think Bhatia was on there as well. Brown Boogie Nation, Rude Boy Republic, Delay Joseph was on there. Deja Vu was on there. Kevin Franke. Some of the names that were really big at the time. It was good fun. We had a launch concert for the album, and yeah, it was good fun being a part of that compilation.
Yeah, there was Cancer also, right? Cancer.
Yes, of course. Cancer, I think played for that compilation. Cancer also played for that big Monsters of Rock concert as well. I remember Prasanna playing that, and I think Prasanna videotaped that as well. And I remember going to Prasanna's house on Green Park. Prasanna had these amazing Friday night jam sessions at his house. And we used to go over to his place every once in a while and jam with him, and and then he had recorded these the videotapes of that concert, and we used to then watch it at his place. So he was a very cool dude, a very talented guy. I used to love those. I love those two songs of that compilation, Footboard Feeling and I think Captain Zero, right? Those are the two songs. I think those are great songs. I think if those were recorded anywhere else in the world, like if it was recorded in America, at that time in the 80s or 70s or even the early 90s, those would have been sure hits. Very, very talented guy he was. He had a very talented bunch of musicians as well. He had a guitarist called I remember his surname was Pierres. I don't know, Richard Pierres or who never looked at the crowd. He always looked at the drummer and played the guitar because I think he used to get nervous, so everyone used to see his back. But as such, he was a phenomenal guitarist. There was another place, Channa, I want to tell you about, and I know we're going on for a bit, but there's this place called the Art Center back then in the 90s. There were not a whole lot of venues for us to play, but where the Lionel Vent is?
Right.
On top of the Lionel Vent, there used to be this art center where there's a nice place to hang out with. You find some interesting people who you could talk to about music and other stuff. And we played there as well. That was a very fun venue to play, because they used to have a nice, very, very, very nice, healthy foot punch that they used to serve there because they didn't have a liquor license. But the foot punch was, you have that and you're good to go. So I remember one time we were sound checking. We were sound checking for a concert, and we were quite loud now. And I remember on the same day there was a play going on, and I think they were doing the rehearsal for the play. And I remember Jerome De Silva getting really pissed off with us and coming up and saying, "What are you all doing? We're trying to practice." So yeah, we had some crazy times, man. I mean, even at Indie Square, there's so many stories. But yeah, so basically that's how we kind of led up to Indie Square.
So when was the Independence Square started?
Independence Square started in 1998, I think. Basically, OP, Shehan, and myself, and then we recruited Ajit Chitampalam on lead guitar, and Dinesh Manuel on drums. Dinesh was introduced to us by Afdal, Adil's brother, and uh, Ajit was introduced to me by a very cool dude by the name of Stephen Pierres, who also done a bit of radio, the DJ. And I went to Stephen's house one day to check something out, and he said, "Hey man, there's this really cool guy." So we were not looking for a guitarist; we were looking for a drummer.
Yeah.
And he said, "There's this really cool guy called Ajit. He can play drums really well." Because Ajit was at overseas school, and Stephen had done some work for overseas school. And we said, "Oh wow, that's amazing! And can you get us his number?" So I remember Stephen calling Ajit at that time and getting, saying, "Hey, there are these guys. Would you be interested?" And Ajit said, "Okay." So I still remember at the time we were at, I think we were at either Adil's house, or I think we were at Adil's house, and and Ajit came for the audition. But Ajit came for the audition with two guitars on his back. And then he played drums. He was, he was all right. But then when he picked up, I remember he had a Hyundai guitar, right? Which is like a Stratocaster copy, but Hyundai it was, right? And man, he had a wah-wah pedal. And when Ajit started playing the guitar, we were like, screw the drums, man. You need to play guitar, you're hired, you know. He was he was way ahead of his time. Like Ajit and Ajit is here now in Sri Lanka. He was in America for a very long time. He has kind of given music a break and surrounded himself in academia. But I'm trying to get him to now get back into music again. But he was just, my God, you know, he could play a guitar, you know, and with his crybaby and his wow, I mean, he could just, wow, that was brilliant. And then even Dinesh, when we found him, you know, was an amazing drummer. You know, I think Dinesh, to this date, I say is probably one of the best drummers I have ever played with. You know, and just a really good drummer. And these two guys were much younger than us. You know, they were at least 5 to 6 years younger than us. And I would say technically, musically, they were probably the best out of all of us, Dinesh and Ajit. You know, Shehan was just learning rhythm guitar. Opi was just learning bass, and you know, I was obviously singing. But I think technically they were probably the most proficient at their instruments at the time. But this was around 1998. But I think one thing that we all had in common, we were very lucky, Chandra, because we all wanted to write our own music. You know, we were not happy with just doing covers or singing other people's songs. We just wanted to do our own music.
Right.
Sorry, I just spotted a strand of hair that's going all over there. so yeah, so because of that we gelled so well. I mean, the chemistry was just almost immediate, and we liked the same kind of songs. We wanted, if we did covers, we do like really obscure covers. Like we take a song like "Impressions That I Get" by the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. I don't know if you heard of the Mighty Mighty
Yeah.
Bosstones, but they're a great ska band from the 90s.
Yeah.
We take songs like "99 Red Balloons" and we do the Goldfinger version. Um, we do "My Way" by Frank Sinatra, and we rock it up, like what Sid Vicious did, but not as wild as that, but similar. So because of that, we started earning a reputation in the 90s for being this different band. And then we got an opportunity to open for a play in 99, I think, that Tracy Holsinger and her group of friends, Tracy, Michelle, and Karen, were organizing, called Slag, at a nightclub called The Legends, which was on top of Majestic City at the time. And, we played an acoustic show there. And I mean, it was pretty good, although the late someone gave us a really someone gave us a very not a very good review though, but like she said, maybe rock music wasn't exactly what was right for the ambience of that play.
Right.
But we had a great time, and it was fun. Tracy, Michelle, and Karen, they were lovely people and fun people as well, and they've become our friends. They've stayed friends for such a long time for all of us. And yeah, so we made tapes of our first album, Bring Back the Sun, at that play at Majestic City, and we stood outside the door. And when people were leaving, we were selling these tapes, and it was like with a photocopied cover and with a tape, and people bought them. I think it was like 60 rupees a tape or something, or 100 rupees a tape or something like that. And I think we sold all our tapes, and that's how people started hearing our music. I mean, there were times when we, as Indie Square, I remember one concert in particular, we played at the Mount Lavinia Beach for Yes FM. Yes FM had organized this concert. And, we were very young then. And when you're young, you are a little bit arrogant. You feel like, but in a good way. We were never like, we were never like sinister, or we never meant anything in a bad way. We just believed in our music and we wanted to play it, and we did not compromise from that.
Right.
So I remember when SFM asked us to play, we went on after Bharti and Santush that year. I think it was maybe 91, maybe 1991, around that time, maybe 91. Uh, and Bharti and Santush were just starting to get popular. They were getting the crowds and everything. So they had this big group of people who were going yeah yeah, for their music and all that.
Right.
And then we have to follow that, with like songs like Anger and Poison on the Tree and Fade Away and songs like that. So we went and played our music, and the crowd really appreciated it. But I remember there was one lady who didn't. And I used to be at that time, much younger than I am now, when I used to be quite animated on stage. So I used to go up there in front and jump up and do all kinds of stuff, cartwheels and the whole 9 yards. And one lady came up to the ramp and she told me, Anil, do you think what you're doing is right? I said, why? What do you think we're doing wrong? And she said, you're not playing for the crowd, you're playing for yourself. I said, I don't think so. And then she said, no, you are. This crowd doesn't come to hear your originals. They come to hear songs they know. So then I took up my mic and got onto my little soapbox and I said, okay, this lady has come up and said, we are singing originals for us and not for you guys. So I said, we said, you guys do you think you guys do want us to keep playing originals or play covers? And then I got them to cheer for both, and the originals got a much bigger round of applause. Right. And then after that, we kept singing our own songs, and I never saw that lady again that night. So we were very strong in our conviction, and we did not waver from it. And I think that kind of maybe changed the way people looked at doing original rock music at the time, because at the time everyone had maybe not thought it was possible for a Sri Lankan band to write their own rock music and do it. And I think I'm thankful that I met people like Chehan and Ajit, Dinesh, and Opi when I did, because I don't think I could have done it with another group of people, because at that time, we were all so strong in wanting to write songs. And that first album was when I started writing songs, and I developed my skill as a songwriter as well. And I remember the first time I realized that I could write a song is when I wrote a song called Mrs. Cowdrey for that album. And I wrote it in like 5 minutes after I saw this movie called Shirley Valentine.
Who is Mrs. Cowdrey?
I don't know who Mrs. Cowdrey is, but well, actually, if you watch this movie called Shirley Valentine, it's a really cool movie. It's a British movie about this lady who just gets bored with a mundane life and gets tired of her husband just neglecting her. They've been married for a long time, so she just runs away to Greece or to Egypt or somewhere, and you know there are men falling all over her, and then the husband comes back looking for her. And I just saw that, and it had some kind of weird profound effect on me. And that one day I was on my bed with my acoustic guitar, and I just wrote Mrs. Cowdrey in like 5 to 10 minutes. Like the lyrics and the melody, everything came at the same time. So that's when I thought, okay, maybe I could do this decent. I mean, I'm still trying to write the perfect song, and I don't know if I've still written the perfect song, but so that's basically how that happened.
So after Bring Back the Sun, you released the next album, 5.5.
Yeah, that's right. 5.5 we released, but sadly when we released 5.5, we lost 3 of our members, Ajit and not like drastically, but Ajit and Dinesh. I mean, they went for higher studies. Both of them left to the States, and we really felt it because like I said, they were so good at guitar and drums and everything. And then I think a couple of years later, Shehan also left the band, and but we had recorded all the songs at the point. We had recorded all the songs that we needed to, so we had the album. So then we started recruiting new members, and that's when Malinda Ginige came into the band. I think you remember Malinda.
Yes.
Again, I spotted him when I was asked to judge for an Interact show at Royal College. And I was on the lookout for members at the time because we needed new members. But I wanted it to be a very organic kind of thing. I didn't want to have like a audition and get people to come in. I want to discover someone that I thought. So I just went to judge this Interact talent show, and then I see this little kid coming onto stage with a double neck Gibson. So much of attitude.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this guy is just full of attitude, but he can't do shit. And then he came in and he was quite good. So I found out a contact number. He was only like 15 at the time, I think. And I called his mom, And I told her who I was, and I said, I think your son is very talented, and I would really like him. And I don't know how I did it because he was so young. But I really liked the way he played. Like much like I saw something like when we saw something in Ajit or Dinesh, I saw something in Malinga as well, which was very unique. It's not that I mean, he was a very charismatic guy on stage, but he also had something special in his playing and the way he approached his music. I could say that even without meeting him, just seeing him on stage, I could say that. And so I met Malinda and we started jamming, and he loved the indie square songs right off the bat. And our second album, also at that time, we played on radio songs like Come On Over and Morning After were getting very popular. And so Malinda also loved it. We didn't have time. We had to straight away start playing live again. So of course we recruited other members. We also had a Pearl Jam thing where we went through a number of drummers. We had Niroshan who played for us for a very long time. We had Gune or Gunasuruban who has a band now. Niroshan also is still playing. He has a great little band at the moment. We had a few other drummers as well. Uh, and we went in. Sunil came in and played bass for us, and was a big long stay with the band after that. And I think it's after that we played like in the early 90s when we did Bring Back the Sun, we played like a few gigs all over the place. But after 2002, we just played some massive shows. Like I remember playing a show at BMICH with, at that time, bands like Stigmata had started playing and Crib Cycle had started playing. Then Paranoid Earthling came up slowly. So there was a bit of a rock community forming. So I remember we played for this concert at the BMICH. It was a Toyota concert where Toyota was launching their F1 car. I think this was somewhere in the mid 2000s, and that concert was a free concert. And
I was there on that concert.
I'm sure you were because there was a massive crowd. That was like a proper like an international concert. Like there were so many people there, and the energy was just crazy. And we were all caught up on it, and we were all on a high. I remember going up on the ramp, and me and Malinda and OP, we were all very animated, and you know. I went out there. I remember, and I just jumped up in the air, and I just fell down, and I fell on my knees, right? And I didn't feel it. I got right back up and I just started singing. Of course, the next day it was a different story. But yeah, so OP Malinda and myself, we remained the core of the band. I guess with Sunil as well. OP went from bass to playing rhythm guitar and playing a bit of lead, which he did very well. I mean, OP played the bass for songs like Come On Over. I think on that entire second album, OP played the bass and he played some amazing bass lines. Uh, so yeah, so like that's basically how things happened with the second lineup and the second album. But I'll tell you like an interesting story that we had with Malinda, which is quite funny. I remember another memorable gigs that we had was when we were asked to play at the Roito uh, during the break and during I think towards the end of the match. So they used to bring this huge container truck out into the middle and the band would be on it and we used to play. And that was kind of cool for like a rock band.
Yeah.
So we play originals, we play a few covers. But I remember the day we were going to go on, the first day, so this was like Malinda's, I think it was Malinda's very first gig with us. Now, mind you, he's only 15 years old, right? And his mom obviously comes for all the concerts. And his mom loves the music as well. She's like a super cool person. So we were waiting, and I was nervous anyway that day because our drummer was Hiroshan, and he was getting late to come. So I was anyway a little bit nervous and on edge. And anyway, Hiroshan came right on time, and we went and we played, and things were going well. But at the Royal Tomian, no one really wants, like, even if they love your music, everyone's going, meeting people, hugging people. They're not going to be standing in front of a curtain and watching a band. It's about your camaraderie and you're going to meet people. But then all of a sudden, I think we were playing something at the time. I think we were playing Come On Over or something at the time, and I noticed the entire stadium just came in front of us, right? But they were standing in front of our truck. And, uh, and I was like, shit, man, this is so cool, right? And now we are taking it to the next level. Like me and Malu and Opi and Sunil, we are going crazy on stage, right? And singing it, which is quite cool. But then I then I see something. It's weird. Though they are like near the stage, they are looking at us at one point, and then they are looking towards a different direction. So then I looked where they were looking, and like there were these three beautiful girls, right? Uh, I think they were like either Scandinavian and Russian girls, and they were dancing in front of the stage.
Right.
And I think that was part of the allure for the people to come on in front. So anyway, at some point the girls came on stage, and then they said, "Hey, can we come on stage?" I was like, "Well, yeah, if you want to come on stage, come on stage. That's all right." And they came on stage, and now they're dancing in front of us, right? And they're dancing in front of us and doing all kinds of little, gyrating their hips and doing, you can imagine, right, what's happening now on stage. So, so I'm a bit worried now because like Malinda's mom is in the audience, right? And this is like a 15-year or 14 or 15-year-old kid playing guitar with this, 25-year-old girl gyrating herself all over all of us, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm a bit worried and stuff like that. And then at one point, they kind of got on their knees and like I didn't see the girls anymore. We were playing a song and I didn't see the girls anymore. And then I just looked at Opie or someone, I can't remember. I said, where are the girls? Because they just disappeared. And then Opie or Malinda said, look down, right? And when I looked down, one of the girls was trying to take my zipper down with her teeth.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I mean, on a different day, I would be like, oh wow, and be really happy about it. But I am now super nervous because I really like this guy and I want him to keep playing guitar for this band.
Right.
And there is a woman grabbing at my zipper with his teeth, and his mom is in the audience, right? So, so anyway, the concert after that, the girls went off, and then the crowd really got into it, and we played till I think till about 10 o'clock that night. We played some for a very long time, and they loved it, and we got lots of gigs up from that show and everything. So anyway, now I had to calm the waters with Malinda's mom. So I next day I went over to her place, and I said, Auntie, I want to talk to you about the concert. And she's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I also want to talk to you about it. And I thought, shit. Then I said, Auntie, though that thing happened with those girls, that kind of thing doesn't happen every day, it doesn't happen all the time. It
Right.
was just a coincidence that they were there and got on stage and doing that stuff. Don't worry. Then Marinda's mom tells me, what are you talking, man? You should get them for all your shows. So that's when I knew, okay, we found like this family is really cool. So yeah, so Malinda fit in really well, and Sunil fit in really well, and then we didn't look back from there, and we kept playing, and there were some amazing gigs. So yeah, it was a great time, man.
Anil, so those are the days that also the new rock company gigs were happening, right?
Of course, yes, yes, yes. I mean, Rock Company basically happened with the late Ajit Pereira. God rest his soul. A nice man, very generous man, and very very interesting guy. I mean, uh, Ajit was, he was a really cool dude, and I think for a lot of people, he was like a second dad.
Right.
We were, I mean, we got I mean we went into rock company because everyone was at the time, people like all the the bands were like, ourselves, Crib Cycle, Stigmata, Paranoid Earthling, Whirlwind. And at that time there was such a great variety of rock and roll out there. There was metal, there was alternative, there were like, even like classic rock bands. So it was like a great, I don't know, it was like a great melting pot of talent, but also like different genres, and so it attracted different crowds.
You remember they had even Christian rock band, right?
Of course. Billy's band, right? Ezra,
Yeah,
remember? Ezra and the Noah's Ark, right? I think
yeah,
Naveen and Noah's
Noah's
Ark.
Ark, yeah.
Yeah. We went for the meetings and then we decided, okay, let's there was a committee and myself, I think Suresh and a few other people were like I think part of the committee along with Ajit, of course. And I still remember our very first concert as Rock Company. It was probably an amazing show. I have a photograph from it as well, where it was at the 80 Club. I think, Channa, you must have been there for that show at the 80 Club.
Yeah,
Were you
yeah.
there?
I think
Yeah,
I
it was
was there.
at the 80 Club, and I think it was such a great concert. I mean, there were easily close to about 1,000 people there. And I mean, when you say 1,000 people, when you compare now, how is it now? It is in Sri Lanka, but like that time, 80 Club was full, and it was such a great audience. Like you got a mix of everyone there. And Ajit really went out. I think he had got a beer company to come in as a sponsor, and we had stalls. I think there was Keel selling hot dogs, and all this. It was such an amazing time and an amazing concert, and I remember it fondly because I remember that concert. I met I met, well, I think, yeah, I think I met someone there who I eventually dated as well for a while. So, so I mean, it was just such an amazing time, and we had a few concerts. Like, unfortunately, something happened, and we couldn't have it at the 80 Club again. But we moved into, I think, the St. Joseph's Auditorium for a few shows. Then we moved into Excel World at
Yeah.
Guy Road for a few shows. I think we released two amazing compilations to the rock company. I think a lot of albums
And
came.
this one, Anil, this one, right?
Oh yeah, wow! You have him.
Yeah.
And
So,
there's some great songs on those compilations, Macha.
yeah. And have you think about this? You've been part of the all three, the two rock company and then Colombo Tribe Project. So you probably been part of all three greatest compilations coming out of Sri Lanka, right?
Yeah, but Chandra, what I say right now, as much as I feel proud and privileged to be a part of that, and as much as I like doing what I have done for the industry, I also think we need to have new blood now in the game.
Right.
Because it's not enough for bands like us or the Stigmata or Paranoid Earthling to still be the bands that people are talking about. I mean, I know there are other bands like I think and Sacrament is very good. And there are some other metal bands, but we need to have new bands coming up, so that they will be talked about in 10 years' time. Like in 10 years' time, if someone is still interviewing me and or Suresh or Mirshad and talking about Rock Company and Colombo, I would feel really bad about it.
Yeah.
Someone should talk about something we did now with some new bands. So I think because of that, we also should guide the way for a lot of these new bands and help them in whatever way we can. There's so much of great talent in Sri Lanka. But I think the, the good thing is because we didn't have all those luxuries growing up, we didn't have a lot of help. We had to do everything ourselves. Like, so we got used to doing it. Like, we got used to going to the newspapers and getting ourselves, the cover of the Mirror magazine or the cover of the Now magazine or the Observer paper. We got to know journalists. We got interviews in there. We got write-ups in there. Like every week, I make sure there was something in the newspapers. And we play and we played like before we really made it big. We played everywhere. We played in Nigambo. We played in Wattala at some dodgy club where we thought we get hammered because we didn't play Summer of '69. We played at clubs. There was a place called the Basement at Green Park. I remember someone threw a shoe at me because I said I'm not going to sing or we are not going to sing Quit Playing Games with My Heart. So, we went through quite a bit of tough times and we
Right.
really learned to do it ourselves. And I think nowadays, a lot of bands, they're passionate about their music, but it's just not enough anymore to be passionate about your music. You
Right.
need to get your social media game strong. You need to learn how to do it. You have to have your website going. You need to keep putting out content. You need to start doing visual content because visual media is, it's so huge now, right? With things like, YouTube and, Instagram TV and all that. So you need to go with the times. And I think now there are some great things happening. There's a great website now that is selling local music, Sri Lankan music. I don't know if you interviewed her. I think Penny's wife Shehara Jayatilaka. She has started this website called
I know.
where they are selling local music, which is great. I think we should have different avenues like that. I've started something with the Yamaha Music Center, which we are doing called the Yamaha Pro Studio Sessions, where we get an artist in and we do a video free of charge and we put it and we promote it. So, I mean, I feel, Channa, that like you got to know us because why? Because yes, you came for our concerts, but even now, Masham, you're talking about us because you remember the songs, right? You remember the albums, Five and a Half, and I think you still have a copy of Five and a Half, and you remember the songs on it. Now, even though we're not playing now, you can always pop that CD in and listen to our music, right? And
Right.
if someone comes to your house, they'll be like, "Hey man, what's that song? Who's that band?" You say, "Man, this is a band from Sri Lanka, that's Come On Over, that is Anger or whatever." So I mean, I want bands, not just rock, any kind of music, any genre, also to go out there and create their own music, put it out there. If you don't want to put out CDs, if you think CDs is not cool, then put it out on Spotify, put it out on Deezer, or put it out on YouTube, or something. Because otherwise, I mean, that's your legacy, right? At the end of the day, because you might influence someone. Like I don't know, maybe we influence people to start their own bands and write their own music, right? So like that, maybe someone will hear your song and think, wow, man, this is a freaking awesome song. If this guy can do it, so can I, right?
Right.
And I think that is a beautiful thing. And sadly, I don't see that happening a whole lot now, right? I think right now everyone sometimes waits for someone else to do something and say, hey, okay, we are having a concert. Why don't you all also come and play with us, Or we are having a show. Why don't you guys come and play with us? No, you should go out there. You should organize your own concert. You should go and get your sponsors. Don't be happy with just saying, hey, there are no sponsors, no one wants to support us, no one supports our genre. No, find a way of putting it, getting them to support you. Give them some kind of benefit. Live stream it on freaking Ustream or YouTube or Facebook or something, like even now, uh, I know that you can't have concerts live now, and you can't really do a whole lot now. But you can still there are if you get creative, there's a lots you can do. I don't think you should just say, okay, it's COVID now, so we're just going to stay at home. You know, I think you should still try to do something. Stream. There are lots of people streaming from their homes. Now, today I was speaking to a friend of mine. He's organizing a huge concert online for a band. I mean, Bharti and Santosh had that great idea of doing a drive-in concert, which I thought was really good. I mean, other countries have done it and they did it as well. I mean, I think just come up with new ideas and just keep creating music and putting it out there so it can be consumed. I think I went a little bit out of the point, but
So, Anil, can you also tell me a little bit about, because I first know you from TNL Radio. So,
right. Okay.
so can you tell me how you got into radio?
Okay. See, this is also interesting because I actually got into radio because of music. My band, like basically, I remember I told you that I was in a band called Rec with my buddy Adil Aziz, right, and Opi.
Right.
So when we were Rec, we went to ESFM at the time, and I remember we did a live concert at that time. I think Shaq Shakil, he was the presenter on a morning show on the weekends,
Right.
and I think this was around 1996 or 97. We were all like, we were all very young, and we went there, and I think Shaq got us down because he had heard our songs on the Colombo Tribe compilation, and he really liked what we were doing. And we went in there, and we did a live concert on his radio show.
Hmm.
Uh, and uh, and and yeah, so I met Shaq from there, and then it was kind of cool. So then, when I started my first job, when I started working, I started working in tourism. I started working in this company that was based at the World Trade Center. Um, and it was a quite a tumultuous time at the time because the war was on, and I was at the World Trade Center when the central bank bombing happened, and we it was a very very scary time at the time. But anyway, we were working there, and I was there for a couple of years. That's like another life now for me. And then I remember Sun FM opened up at the World Trade Center. Uh, and when Sun FM opened up, the World Trade Center had this really cool restaurant, like this little, uh, what you can, it was like little restaurants together, like a, call these things. Yeah, anyway. They had this thing. It was called the Delhi Market. It was like a yeah. So a food court. They had like a really cool food court there, and we used to all go and hang out there and have our lunch. So one day when I was going there, I met Shaq again. Actually, well, I met before I met Shaq, I met Erhard Hanifa, who used to go on TNL, who used to have a show on TNL called he used to go on TNL as Eddie Love. And I was a big fan of a show he and Aftal did on TNL called The Completely Different Radio Show. And I used to be a massive fan of TNL at the time. But so Ed and a lot of people I knew had joined Sun FM. And Ed said, man, you should come and join Sun FM. It's kind of cool, lots of cool people, and it's fun. And straight away, I was kind of drawn to it because of the music. Um, and then one day I met Shaq as well at the Daily Market. And Shaq said, Anil Macham, you should come, man, with you've got this music knowledge. Why don't you come on board? So I went and I auditioned and I did one voice take. And I don't know, it probably was good because he said, okay, come, you're hired. And he offered me, the package was really good. So I left this job that I had invested like about 3 years of my life, and I just joined Sun FM. And at that time, Sun FM was just starting. Even the studios were not built. They were just building the studios and stuff like that. We had an amazing lineup who had joined Sun FM at the time. I was like a novice at the time, but there was Shaq, there was Feroz Kamaldeen, there was Karen Balthasar, there was Tracy Holsinger, of course Ed was there, Sutami, Ed's sister was there. It was a amazing lineup of creative minds. But but most of that lineup left within the first year, and I left too. I left I left as well because they changed their direction a little bit, and I think good. I mean, they've done amazingly well for themselves, so that's great. But it wasn't the direction that we envisioned, so I think a lot of people left, uh, and I left as well. I think Tracy and I left at the same time. And then I wasn't really, but I liked radio. I liked what I was doing, and I felt I could be good at this. So I remember seeing TNL had asked for presenters, and I applied, and but I never really got a response from TNL until one day I was at a club called White Horse. I don't think you remember the famous White Horse, right?
Yeah.
And this is not when it was at Green Park. This was the original one. I mean, it was at Chatham Street or somewhere like that, where we used to sit on the road and have the drinks and anyway. So I was at White House and I met Tracy there because Tracy Holsinger had joined TNL, and she said, "Hey man, look, I knew her from Sun." And she said, "Hey, you should come over to TNL." And I said, "Well, I did apply to TNL, but I never heard from them." And I don't know if she mentioned something to the CEO at TNL or something, but I was called. They called me. And yeah, so I got the job and I started as a presenter. And, I loved it because I was always a big fan of TNL. And I thought they had, and I remember when I went to the TNL and saw the library of music. I just, I mean, I think I kind of had like a bit of an orgasm at the time because they had such amazing Channa, right? You're a collector of CDs, right? So they had the most amazing music, and even at the time, I don't think they were using a lot of the music, but they had some amazing people who were playlisting music. Like at the time, like people like Howard Rohier and Wendell Tile and Sharon and Kishani and people like that. So they all used to be very, very. They had a very good idea of great music, and I learned a lot from them. And yeah, so then when Howard took over as programs manager from Wendell, and when Wendell left, and then when Howard left, I took over from him as programs manager of uh, of TNL Radio, and yeah, so and then we started speeding Unrest, which was a big show, and became a big show, which was a rock chart. That also was the brainchild of then CEO Mr. Niraj Vikramasinghe. He was he loved rock music, and it was great to always chat to him about music and movies and television because he was always very interested and in tune with all of this, and he was so passionate about TNN radio. So it was great to work with someone who was your boss or your CEO, but also was so passionate about music. Sometimes you don't get that all the time. So yeah, so I've learned a lot from him as well. And yeah, so we did on stage, Spinning Unrest happened. That was good. So I mean, I always look back at TNL in the fondest way. I think if I mean, whatever I am right now, I think TNL has a lot to do with it, and I basically kind of made my bones there, and it was a great time.
Yeah, actually, for me, like I had a friend. We met in class. We met in like IDM, and then we were both into those, rock and metal. So what we used to do is we used to request the song. We have to send
Right.
the fax to TNL before, right? We have to send a fax. So
All right.
he would take the bike and he would go to the like the store and he will send the
This
fax.
was this was for the late request show, right?
I think even around the like daytime shows we used to like
Yeah, yeah.
request
At that
songs.
time it was at that time it was faxes, right? Yes, you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
we fax and then we record it. I actually had those tapes back then. All the songs I recorded, like just like somebody saying my name, and then Spinning
Right.
Unrest. I remember it was like around 9 p.m. that the show used to be like 8:39, right?
No, it's from six to nine, six to
Oh
nine.
yeah,
Yeah.
6 to 9. Yes, yes,
On
yes.
Sun, and it was on Sunday, so not the most convenient day, but it picked up. It picked up, and it had a decent following.
Anil, you did also some sort of a top 10 show, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we did a local chart. I mean, I always wanted to promote local music. I mean, I always have. Not just because I write songs, but I think, look, you should promote people out there. If you see talent, you should promote it. I mean, if we don't help our own people, then who is going to help them, right? I
Yeah,
mean, if we don't help our own people, how can we expect someone from overseas to help them? You know, if we are not willing to give them a helping hand. So, I mean, it was called the SL Hot 10, and we did a top 10 right after Spinning Unrest. We did a top 10 of local artists and local songs. That was great because so many people started recording songs and sending their songs, for the show. So that was a great thing.
yeah. I remember even like songs like Roots, right? Like from Iraj, you played that.
Oh yeah, of course. Roots. I think Roots. I mean, one of Iraj's first concerts was at TNL, right? He took part in on stage, I think, in
Yeah,
2002, I think.
right, right.
And Iraj, yeah, Roots, and he had this talented singer called Gresha at the time, you know. And
Gresha and Rookie, right? Gresha and Rookie, the Roots.
yeah, Gresha and Rookie, yes, Rookie. So yeah, he always had his posse, right? And Roots was a great song. I mean, even though Iraj is doing a predominantly Sinhalese music now, I think should have kept going in that format as well, because Roots was a really nice song. And I think even after that he did some great songs. He did this song called The Players Lounge and gave it to me when I was at TNL. I used to play it quite often. He did a song with Krishan called J Town Story, which I thought was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember even this guy, like he's quite popular these days, Phil T, right? Everyone knows Phil T. He was part of a band called Six Lane at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the Six Lane, they came and gave me, said, Anil and they gave me this song. It was called Conflagration. And it was like a Linkin Park song. And this was before Linkin Park,
Right.
and it was an amazing. I love it, and I have it on my I have it on my iPod, and I still listen to it. I mean, lots of people may have their own idea or perception of Phil T, but I think he's quite a talented guy, and even then he used to rap really well. And I think music is just a form of expression. Everyone is free to express themselves the way they want. But I think even then, he had a bunch of guys called Sixer who did some really great stuff. So there were a lot of bands like that who kept giving music, and people like CC, who's now with Salvage, and of course Stigmata. Paranoid Earthling had an EP out called Rock and Roll Is My Anarchy, Tantrum, Whirlwind, and lots of other little solo artists as well. We used to play a lot of their music too. And like one thing I did when we were at TNL is I made sure that we played a certain amount of local music with the international music as well. Like in a sense, we didn't highlight it saying, oh, local song of the hour or any of that crap. I mean, if it would be, I don't know, it would be like point a Linkin Park, and next it could be Roots with Tiraj and Rest or whatever, and it just flowed. And I think that's what we don't see on radio at the moment, which is really frustrating. I mean, back in the day, radio stations had the argument to say, okay, and I'm talking about English music, obviously, singular music has enough of a platform and enough radio stations to have it played. But I mean, back in the day, yes, radio stations had excuses to tell bands, okay, we can't play your music because the quality is not good enough. It's a great song, it's written well, it's composed well, but the quality is just not good enough. But um, but now you can't give that excuse because technology is so advanced that most kids record great songs and produce and master them in their bedrooms and they sound amazing.
Right.
So I don't understand why our electronic media doesn't support our local artists more. I mean, it's really, really sad because, I mean, okay, lots of people say rock and roll is a dying genre and no one really listens to rock and roll anymore. Right, fair enough. If you don't want to support rock and roll, there are enough people doing English dance music. There are enough people doing English pop music. There are enough people doing English hip hop music. And there are stations that cater to these genres. I mean, there are stations that do a lot of dance music. Why can't they include some local artists in that? I mean, I don't understand. What does it take? Does it take a lot? I mean, if the song is good and if you think it's catchy, then a programs manager should have the balls to say, okay, I want to put this on my playlist. And I don't understand why they don't do it, right? Or go to whoever his superior is and say, and persuade them and say, look, whoever, right? This song is really good. It's no different from international song. Why don't we play it regularly on a lineup? And I don't understand why that doesn't happen. Because when I was at TNL, and I was lucky because I had a CEO who was also very passionate about the music, so I didn't have to convince him a whole lot. But I still used to go and I said, look, this song is really good, and we used to somehow play them with the normal music. Like I remember, we couldn't play a whole lot of Stigmata because okay, it was a little bit heavy, but even songs like, I mean, I love that first album that Stigmata put out. It's a great. I mean, I'm sure the other albums have been really good as well, but I think Hollow Dreams, I think, is a cracking album. And I remember there's a song on it called Inspired, which
Yeah.
is probably my favorite song on that album. And And of course, there's a song called Dying Winter Sleeps, which I really like. So and I remember playing songs like Inspired and Lucid with on rotation, with the other songs. So I don't understand why other radio stations, I mean, all radio stations now, just cannot give our local artists a break. Because if they do that, it will encourage our local artists to up their game even more, right?
Mm.
Like if you're a musician, Channa, and you write a song and okay, radio stations are going to play my music, then you make sure it is the best possible quality or standard it can be, right? And there is nothing wrong with a programs director or a programs manager saying, Masan, your song is really good. Go back home, improve the quality, bring it back. Fine. I agree. If it's not up to your radio standards or guidelines, you're free. But if it's good quality, then play the freaking song. Give your own people a chance. You're playing freaking Justin Bieber and freaking, Miley Cyrus and all that. Why not, give our own people also a chance with the platform that you have if they deserve it? I'm saying if you think the song is not, whatever you don't think it goes with your format, fine. But if it is something that goes with your format, then give them a chance.
Yeah.
And so that is something I don't see now a whole lot. There are still, I'm not saying that there are no shows promoting local music, like for instance, Yasmin Yusuf, there's a show, Homegrown on SFM, which is great, and she's been doing it for a very long time. But I think we have to stop just uh, putting local music in a category,
Right.
and just mix it with the other music. And or someone will say, local song of the hour, brought to you by Dial of the ESM or whatever. I mean, why do you need to do that? Just play the local song with other music and use that sponsorship for some other feature, dance song of the hour or something like that, or
Right.
rock song of the hour.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because when you say local song of the hour, and Sri Lankans have sometimes have this tendency to look down on our own people sometimes. So when you say our local song of the hour, they're like, make a local Sindhuak ne. The quality muddy. Oh, it's not written well. Ayo, that fellow is going off. Ayo, that guitar solo is not good. But if you just play it after the international song and not say local song, they will be like, wow, that song is pretty catchy, right? And they will want to know what that song is. Because everything, your mind works in mysterious ways. I know because we did this and we have got feedback. So I think it's
Yeah.
about
And
time
now
that.
making a point on what you said, because when, for example, me, which I have lot of these Sri Lankan albums that I collected, so I'm not putting them like in a different category that these are Sri Lankan local bands. It's in the
Exactly.
same alphabetical, same. It's in the same group, same.
Exactly right. I mean, now, for instance, if you're going to make a compilation and do a show on a podcast with a show, if you're going to, for instance, put one of our songs, say "Come On Over" or "Anger" or whatever, right, or whatever song you want to put, now you might say, okay, this is a Sri Lankan artist or whatever, but you will treat it as if it's the song that's with another international song that's coming in, right, before it or after. But I mean, it's just I don't know. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I have it wrong. And maybe if I go and speak to some of the programs managers now, they will tell me, look, you're saying this, but we can't do it. Our hands are tied. But I think if you are a DJ, whether you're a DJ in a nightclub or whether that's, and I mean, even DJs in nightclubs these days, right? I mean, you go to a nightclub, the music is so monotonous, right? It's just every single song is the same song they played yesterday. Because the DJs don't want to take a risk, right? They want to play the same old songs that they know the crowd will be happy listening to, right? But that's not what being a DJ is. A DJ is being brave and expressing yourself. Yes, play the favorites, but you should also be brave enough to introduce people to new music, and take a chance. Okay, let me try. Then you will be known for something. You will be known, you'll be identified. Like I remember back in the day when the Blue Elephant was happening and it was one of the biggest nightclubs in the country. People like Kapil and Naushad were playing. But they used to play a certain kind of music and certain songs were called Blue Elephant songs. Like something got me started by Simply Red, or, things can only get better by Dream, or, you know, because those DJs really wanted to know about music. They were just not happy taking their Serato and putting 100 songs on your pen drive and just going, pada, 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 checking your list. And I think it's the same when you're a programs manager or a programs director. Yes, you have a format to follow, but be brave, you know, be brave. Go to your management and say, look, this is great. Yes, we have to pay the bills. We will follow the format, but please give us a bit of leeway to do something different so that, we will be remembered for something. And I mean, when I was growing up and listening to TNL, I used to see that in TNL. I mean, there were some great presenters. Like my favorite presenter was a guy called Dr. J, and he used to do some great stuff, innovative stuff on his show. And I kind of aspired to wanting to be like that. I never thought I would be part of the TL team, let alone become program manager, but it was great. And like even recently, I did a stint on EFM, and even on EFM, I did a show called The Local Spin, which was where we interviewed local artists. We played local music for like 2 hours. And it was great. I mean, it was brilliant. And thankfully, the management at the time at EFM was very open to doing something like. In fact, it was almost their kind of idea, and they said, Anil, why don't we do it? Uh, the CEO and COO at the time, he said, Anil, let's do this local music. We did shows that concentrated on different genres. So, I mean, that's what I've always been about. I don't care if it's not about doing the morning show or the evening show or whatever. It's for me, it has always been about whatever slot you do, bring something creative and original to it where you can help the industry grow. That's what I've always wanted to do. So, I mean, I'm not done doing it. I still want to keep on doing it. There's a long way more to go, but hopefully, things will improve in the electronic media, and they'll give local artists more opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. Anil, can you tell me a little bit about? Last time I met you, I was there in 2016. When I went to Sri Lanka, I
Right.
went to your Colombo land.
Oh, right, yes.
Oh, yeah, I think it was at Silk.
That's right, yes.
So, what happened with that project? So I saw your one of your songs, Boxer. Recently, there's
Yes,
a
yes.
Boxer. So can you
Well,
tell
I
me
mean,
a bit about that?
okay. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, like I told you, I've written a ton of songs, and Kalabalan was one of my projects where we wanted to take 10 of those songs that I had written and do an album. Because I've always seen myself as being part of a band, although I've released a solo album. I've never seen myself as a solo artist. I like the idea of getting other members together, collaborating with them, and it kind of enriches the song. And I was really blessed with Karamolan. We had some great musicians. We had some great people. But I think, and I mean, I'm not trying to say anything, and it was great. I mean, we tried for a very long time. We had that concert, uh, but unfortunately, for me, and that's probably why I haven't played live for a very long time, is because as you grow older, you become less patient with people. So I think for me now, if I if I go on stage with a group of people, then I need to know that they are as committed to that project as I am, and they are as passionate as that project as I am, and they are willing to put in the work as much as I am. Because I may write the songs, but I give everyone the freedom to dissect them, and if you want to change them around, let's do it. And and I try to have a bit of a democracy. But there are certain things that I'm very insistent about. Where you do your homework, where you arrive on time for practice, and when we are at practice, we don't bullshit. And I know it makes me sound like being a bit of an ass, but I think right now, at this stage of my life, I don't have the time or the inclination to just fool around. Whatever I do, I want to be 100% serious about it. So, unfortunately, that doesn't happen a lot right now. I mean, you go for a rehearsal. Two guys will come in late. One guy will not show up and might not even inform you. And it's so hard to deal with that. And that is why I think when we were whatever incarnation of Independence Square we were, whether it was post the original members and or even with bands like Wreck and Crystal Dirt, we were just so committed. We'd come for practice on time. We'd make sure we had our parts sorted out. I and I just didn't see that sometimes with some of the other bands that I have tried to put together. Every now and again, something happens, and I just can't deal with it. And I think so. Sometimes I feel it's good to be a solo artist, because then you can get your session musicians and you practice with them. I did a concert recently when Pulse had this. They have this series of concerts called No Covers Allowed, and I think Pulse is doing some great stuff as well for the local music industry. And they wanted me to come and do some songs for it, and I didn't really, but they said, they asked me, please come. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. Uh, and I handpicked a few musicians, and we practiced our asses off, and we had a great show. So I think
You had
now,
Malind also.
yeah, actually, it worked out quite well, because Malinda came down from the UK at the time. So he managed to come in as well, and we played, and that was great fun playing on stage with him again. So, I mean, Malinda's work ethic is like mine. We are old school. So we know what we have to do. We're serious about our craft, and we do it. I mean, I think if someone is writing the song and bringing the song, and all you have to do is learn your parts and show up to practice on time, it's not a lot to ask, right? So I don't know. Maybe it makes me sound like being a bit of an ass, but I don't know. I don't think it's too much to ask that if you're in a band, you treat it seriously and you treat it like anything else that you'd want to put your time and effort to. So otherwise, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And I think with anything that you try to do in life, you should try and go for it 100% and give your 100%. You should never do anything half-assed or half-baked, and then it's just going to fall flat. So that's probably why I haven't played live a lot, because I haven't found the right bunch of people that I want to play with. I thought I did a couple of times, but they've been fun to jam with and everything, and we had a few concerts here and there. But I don't know. I guess I want everything to be 100% right. I mean, with Colombo, we played some good gigs. I mean, we played a great gig at Barefoot as well last year, which is very, very good. Uh, but again, there are a few issues with, people being a little bit tardy. I sound like an old man, no? Uh, but yeah, for me, practice is just rehearsals are just if you can't come on time for rehearsals, then I think I'm the wrong person to be rehearsing with. I'm not saying I have not got late for rehearsal as well. I probably have, but not in a consistent way. I mean, okay, sometimes things happen that is beyond your control and you can't, always be on time. So that's fine. But sometimes not being like 1 hour late, 1.5 hours late, and just waiting, making everyone wait. And I know I'm going on about this, but it really gets to you. And I think the older you become, the less patience you have. So so hopefully post COVID, well, actually, I have now put a kind of a lineup together who a bunch of guys who are very good. I wish I could reveal who they are, but I think I'll keep it just a little bit under wraps. But there's some well-known names,
Right.
and hopefully they're all very mature people, and I think so. Hopefully it'll work out better.
So, Anil, I know that you're doing a lot of now videos, you're shooting videos, you're directing videos. So, can you tell me a little bit about that, what you're doing?
Yeah. So basically, my love for film started at a very young age again, kind of like music. I watched movies for as long as I can remember. So, like, as much as I've been a student of music, been a huge student of cinema as well. And like I used to religiously watch everything like the Oscars from a very young age. Like just like the charts, I I probably know quite a lot of the best actor and the best actress and the best movie winners for the last 25 years.
Right.
But the thing, but I never really kind of wanted to make film. It happened very accidentally. I was asked to come and produce a TV show for a channel called ETV that I don't think exists. It's a EFM, the TV station, and it was again a show called Made in Sri Lanka where we were highlighting, homegrown people. So they wanted me to produce it, and I don't know why they wanted me to produce it because I had no experience in television at the time. But I've never been one to back down from a challenge, and I thought it'd be great to learn something. And yeah, so I said, yeah, I'll do it. And yeah, I went. I did it for like a year and a half. We did some really great work, and then I had some other work, and I went to pursue something else. But I always had. I think I got the bug for creating film, and I thought, wow, this is something that would be interesting. So technology was advancing, and the whole DSLR explosion happened. That kind of revolution took place, and I bought myself my first DSLR camera. I was like, I spent about 50,000 rupees and bought this camera. I can't remember D50 or it was a Canon, which I bought from a musician, Loshan. Um, and yeah, I did quite a bit of work with that. And then I thought, okay, I shot quite a few like acoustic videos for people with that. And I realized I was making good money with it. And I thought, okay, well, what if I can do some more stuff? But it was never ever about the money. I'm, if I wanted to make big money doing film, I'd be producing TV commercials and stuff like that. And I don't do TV commercials and stuff. Probably maybe because I can't, or maybe it doesn't really interest me. Um, but or maybe it's because no one asked me to do it. Maybe someone asked me, I might do it. But no, but I do a lot of other stuff. I do a lot of corporate videos. In fact, tomorrow I'm leaving to Arugambe. We are covering this surfing school in Arugambe. And I think it's going to be amazing because we're going to send the drones. At this time of year, Arugambe is quite beautiful, and we're going to go with our GoPros into the ocean and take the surfing up close, and it's going to be great. So I love stuff like that, and we've done a lot of videos like that. I do still do a lot of music videos. I do some movie reviews every now and again, and this year,
And you did the video for Shiraz, right? Music video.
Oh yeah, sometime back. Yes. We did a video for Shiraz. Yeah. And yeah, Shiraz again, another very talented guy. I think well. I don't want to say this because I don't know how he will take it, but I think he's very unappreciated, and very underrated. But he's probably one of the most talented guys, rappers in this country. He's probably up there with Shaggy and Shabba Ranks and who's that guy who came recently who sings. Apache Indian and all these guys, and he's so talented. But unfortunately, sometimes in Sri Lanka, our own people don't recognize our own people's talent. So it's a bit sad.
Yeah, Anil, any messages? Any message to the people who listen to Independence Square and then people who are listening?
I feel bad now because I started off so positively, and towards the end, I was talking about all the things that is wrong and should change. But anyway, I guess you can edit it the way you want. Well, I think lots of people have been asking us for a reunion. We got close about a year ago, and I figured now, after all this time, if we're going to do a reunion, we need to do it with all the original members, including Malinda as well.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get everyone at the same place at the same time. Because for the longest time, Shehan, Opie, and I were in Sri Lanka, but Ajit, Dinesh, and Malinda were overseas. So now Ajit is here, but Dinesh now was in the US and he just kind of moved to Australia with his family. But the good thing about Indie Square is like, we could we it's not like if we have 1 month of rehearsing, we'll become proper match fit, Like I think about a year and a half ago, we all met up except for Ajit. No, Ajit as well, actually. I think Ajit was, yeah, Ajit, Dinesh, OP, Shehan and I, we all met up at Cult Studios, Bernard's Cult Studios, and we had a mini reunion inside the studio, and it was good fun. And we most of us remembered all the songs, so it was uh, it was good. So I don't think it'll take too long for us to brush up on our songs, but I think it's only right that we do it with everyone.
Right.
So hopefully that time will come. So I just want to tell everyone who still, I mean, I think I get texts every day, almost every other day. My Facebook is bombarded by someone saying, "Hey, we need a." Either it's like, when are you releasing your next album, or when are we getting new music, or when are you playing live again, or it's when is there going to be a Indie Square reunion. So I feel very blessed to have people writing to me like that. It's very humbling, and I'm glad to know that our music has touched or struck a chord with people, that they still want us and we're still relevant in some way. So that is great. So all I want to tell people who are still fans of Indie Square, just keep listening to the music. Our music will be on Spotify very soon, so you can listen to it on Spotify, and hopefully, we are all looking forward to a reunion as well. More than a reunion, I think I am personally looking forward to writing new songs with the rest of the guys. I think a new Indie Square album will be a kick-ass thing if it does happen. But with regards to my music, hopefully we'll see an album before the end of this year, and a couple of music videos as well. I think I told you I'm trying to do a slightly a different project as well. So even though we are surrounded with this shroud of COVID, uh, I'm going to get a few more songs out and a couple of videos out, and so there will be a bit of new music coming out, and even my music, the solo stuff and everything else will be on Spotify very soon. I still haven't put it, and there are so many people are telling me put it on Spotify and everything. So it'll be on Spotify soon. So watch out for the music on those platforms.
Okay. Anil, this was a great to really talk to you in length. I think this is the
Yeah,
longest
I
conversation.
think it's the longest podcast you ever had, right?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
All right, great, man. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a really good time, but it's great catching up with you and talking to you as well.
Yeah, so hopefully I can see you soon. I don't know. Let's see. Hope this COVID thing will be sorted out. I would like to go back to Colombo.
Of course, man. It was so great to see you at that concert that day. I think we took a photograph. You, Yasmin, and I think we took a photograph together, which is a
Yes,
special
yes.
photograph for me. And it was great to see you as well. And it'll be great to, hopefully, when you come down, I'm starting a talk show soon too. Not like a podcast, I'm starting like a talk show on YouTube very soon. So hopefully, when you come down, I can interview you as well. Huh?
Yeah,
The what are you the Joe Rogan of Asia, huh?
yeah, yeah.
All right, buddy.
Anil, thank you, Anil. Take care.
No worries, Machang. Take care, all the best, and God bless. Okay, take care.